All right. So, a couple of things that I've been thinking about pretty recently are so here's a question that one could pose themselves if they're feeling adventurous ideologically or mentally. Let's say that you go in a corner store one day and all the alcohol has been removed on some prohibition level um, sort of puritanical purging of all the alcohol in your particular city or whatever. But instead, you go up to the counter and you notice there's a new rack. And that rack has a six pack of LSD on it. And each of the. So it's got 6 tabs of LSD in the display case right next to the cashier. And it's got 600 mics total. It's got 6 tabs of 100 micrograms of LSD, and you just put it on your tongue like it's got a little sticker. Industrial factory produced stickers with LSD. So we may be getting to that point. Not necessarily the removal of alcohol, but the introduction of psychedelics into mainstream political and social and economic modes of life. So I believe Colorado has, and maybe one other state, I can't quite remember, have joined the certain Northern European, Scandinavian countries, and I think Denmark also. They have free shrooms. Or not free, recreational shrooms. Recreational shrooms are now a thing. You can have them in Denmark, you can have them in certain states that are more liberal. And shrooms and LSD are actually quite similar in the effects that they give to the mind and the consciousness, the psyche, which our culture still doesn't believe in, which is amusing to me. About as amusing as the old joke, a solipsist walked into a bar. But anyway, the question one might ask is that 6-pack of acid has like a 0% chance of killing anybody. It will impair them. Unless they're extraordinarily psychically resilient, it will definitely impair them. But so will the 6-pack of alcohol if you just shotgun all the beers in the 6-pack. And a 12-pack of alcohol, if you shotgun it, you'll definitely be fucked up. And if you go to the liquor store and buy a handle and you chug it, you'll die. You'll probably die. You would have to be extraordinarily big and strong with a very... LD50s would have a very low effect on you for that not to kill you. An entire 40 of, giant jug of whiskey or bourbon or something. Any of that shit. So the question one might ask, if both these things will incapacitate you, you can't drive on either of them. But alcohol can kill you, whereas LSD has literally never killed anybody. Nobody has overdosed on acid, ever. There have been some contrived tests that have shown brain damage. They were animal tests, and the animals were given the equivalent of 20 tabs? Like 2,000 mics, and that in a house cat. That's not a good representational test for a human being. That's an impossible thing. But we may be getting to that point, and the question one might ask is, why aren't we there already? Like, honestly, why aren't we at the point where we can go into our local corner store, wherever the hell in the world we happen to be, or in the country we happen to be, and get a 6-pack of acid, when we can get a 6-pack of beer that has a greater chance of killing us and will impair us for a roughly equivalent amount of time. And I think one of the main answers is that alcohol has no positive effects. It's a dopamine agonist, mild NDMA agonist, and it gets you drunk. It's a neurotoxin. It's like a deliriant or something, even though it's not, but it has similar effects. It It literally is poison. You're drinking poison. That's the effect of getting drunk. Your blood alcohol content rising is a toxicity level. LSD doesn't really seem to have much of a toxicity level, and it will definitely make you hallucinate and have a distorted view other than the mainframe view of reality that the culture embraces. And it actually does good things. So LSD has helped people quit smoking. I think most people can agree that smoking's bad. Even smokers at this point can put their cognitive bias aside and assume that smoking is negative for you. And if LSD can help you quit smoking, then I think it had an 80% success rate on people who had a mystical experience. That's insane. That's unprecedented. That should be on every street corner. Why isn't it? Well, one reason that I might be able to postulate is that LSD affects serotonin, and it kind of supercharges serotonin. It is a serotonin mimic. Serotonin is a chemical that is roughly related to extroversion, creativity, play. It tends to be abundant in people when they're satiated, when they don't feel like they have much to do. They can experiment and play. Some people with bipolar disorder have disproportionately high levels of serotonergic function. So the question is, why is serotonin mimicry not okay for the government to give people a pass on a six-pack of serotonin mimics, but dopamine agonizing and slight NMDA agonizing neurotoxins are totally fair game, even though they're literally poison, and their positive effects are non-existent. So serotonin regulates hierarchy, position, or status indication in animals all the way down the phylogenetic chain into lobsters. Thank you, Jordan Peterson, for that information. And it also regulates posture, which is again related to hierarchy position. And one of the things that's very common as a psychic or psychological experience when people take these serotonin mimics, such as LSD and psilocybin, is, you can check Terrence McKenna out for this, is that they have the realization, kind of this Zen realization that, dude, dominance hierarchies are totally arbitrary. It's like a bunch of monkeys, judging each other based on no scientific evidence, based on no real, there's no criteria, really. It's oh, that monkey's got a bigger car, so he's a better monkey. It's that doesn't mean anything. It's a illogical competition that is driving basically all of our behavior, and we're fighting for things that ultimately fall apart and go away. And all of that is regulated by the neurochemical serotonin. So what seems to happen is, if you flood the brain of an individual with serotonin via a manic episode or via a synthetic manic episode, which is essentially what LSD and psilocybin amount to, is that they realize that the social game, the male hierarchy is bullshit. I mean, it's literally shared with crustaceans. How much thinking do you think crustaceans are doing? I think what seems to happen is, if you artificially fuck around with serotonin enough, it separates your achievement from your positive emotion. So normally they're about the same. They're achievement, positive emotion. As you go toward the achievement, you get a certain amount of positive emotion. Then you earn yourself some playtime, and then you go back to the achievement. But if you monkey around with your serotonin system, it seems to erase the notion of a hierarchy, because you realize it's an illusion. It's stupid. It's these chimps beating their chest and laughing at each other and trying to put each other down and being cruel, and you realize that the male hierarchy is essentially a form of self-induced cruelty, because a lot of people fucking kill each other for hierarchy positions, totally arbitrary and unscientific. Most crime is driven by inequality in a hierarchy that is literally an illusion. It's a mental game. It doesn't exist. You can't find a hierarchy anywhere in nature except for, I mean, you can, it's everywhere, but the issue is when you try to pin down exactly what you want, exactly what elevates you up the hierarchy, you can find common threads, but the probability that people are doing that consciously is extraordinarily low. And the thing is, you can still believe in a hierarchy when you're high, consciously. The unconscious hierarchy stuff is what makes people drop atomic bombs on each other and drive cars with no muffler and a straight V8 down the highway and like wrap themselves around a tree trying to impress some girl who doesn't care about them anyway. She's just there for the car and the money. Hierarchies make men stupid. They make women mean and catty. And we need to consciously examine our hierarchies instead of unconsciously. LSD helps us do that. So by flooding our brain with serotonin and waking us up to the fact that we can consciously moderate our positive emotion, we don't need permission from the tribe to feel good and walk tall. We can do that shit on our own. So I think that psychedelics need to be legal, not illegal, legal. And I think that they need to be honestly in a corner store the same way as alcohol is, because yeah, we may have a few mad people running around for a while, but they're going to breed themselves out real quick. And what's going to ultimately end up happening is a society of fully conscious people who are able to observe their own hierarchy position from the outside versus being trapped climbing the stairs of a pyramid like Sisyphus for eternity, completely unconsciously like autonomic zombie. People will stop chasing these expensive toys that don't mean anything to impress people that don't like them, or that only pretend to like them for their particular social gain. You know, it's the exit from the Game of Thrones. So that's why I think you should be able to go into a store and buy a 6-pack of acid, or mushrooms, or whatever. Or even PCP, but that's a topic for another video. Thanks.